I say this is a new Kirblog. I said this is a new Kirblog. Everybody take a listen. Everybody take a listen. Everybody listen to the Kirblog. Now that you obviously know what the subject is, let me read the obvious question. This comes from Kai Jordan, who submitted this over the Tome Facebook page. Here's a Kirblog idea. What is your experience with Homestar Runner? How are you introduced to it? Do you have any favorite characters, shorts, or strong bad emails? And also, was there anything you learned from the show that helped you in regards to animation? Yes, and yes to all of that, forever and a day. So I had some trouble remembering for a little while, but I've managed to gather enough of the details from those early days. It was during one of my birthday parties, so this probably would have been like late December, maybe early January, depending on when we did it, because often I would have my actual birthday parties as a young chillin'. Sometime after or before the actual birthday, because my birthday is on New Year's Eve. But I had a bunch of friends over, and one of which, this guy Jason, who, for those of you who didn't hear a lot of my DBZ Kirblogs from back then, he was the one who brought in, and then eventually later, recently sent me that videotape of the last couple episodes of Dragon Ball GT in Japanese with the crappy bootleg subtitles. He introduced me and a bunch of friends to Homestar Runner on my mom's computer with our old dial-up connection as a kid. And unfortunately, I could not remember exactly what the first Strong Bad email I ever saw was. But I know definitely among the ones that I watched a million times all over the place was the one about Trogdor, which was, already kind of becoming viral at that point. The one about Japanese cartoon with Stinko Man and all that. The one about the two sisters, which was particularly funny to me because Ali's sister, which was very similar to my actual sisters, and Allison did eventually find that and think it was pretty funny herself. So, and of course the video game one and a lot of those classic type ones. But I was definitely around for before the 100th email took place, because I remember seeing that and being like, "Oh, this is awesome" and all that, and so I was following it for like a fair amount of time by that point. And I remember when I first brought it up to somebody in school, funnily enough, I was talking about, Homestar Runner, blah, 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 it's like these internet cartoons, da, da, da. And this one particular person was like, it's stupid, Newgrounds is better. And I was like, what even the hell is Newgrounds? So that's how long ago this was. So it was definitely before the summer of 2004. No, actually, it had to have been earlier than that. So it might have been like 2002, 2003 or something. I don't entirely remember. But it was definitely well before that, because I was getting into Homestar Runner cartoons well before I even knew what Newgrounds was. Because then way later I was watching a lot of the early stuff by like Legendary Frog and the Zerbs brothers and the Super Flash brothers and all that stuff, and getting big into that type of Flash cartoons, I guess. But either way, yeah, I was following it for many, many, many years, and would watch a lot of the holiday specials, and some other particular favorites I liked was the Virus one, of course, and the Flashback one for the 200th email. I was reminded of this recently and decided to do this question because a while back when I was going to Fanime up in San Jose, I was traveling with a few friends of mine, and they had the Strong Bad Sings CD, and we listened to that, and I hadn't heard some of these songs in so long, and this giant mystery for me was resolved with and I think it was the 100th email, the flashback one. There's an Easter egg where Limousine shows up and they're just like, "Congratulations, Strong Bad, on your 100th email. We're from the Bad Limousine." I think it says that on the screen, Larry. What? I didn't know that. And then a little like riff plays, and it's like, and I had no idea that was actually from a song that was on that CD. So that was my first time hearing, how does it go? The heart of a lion and the wings of a bat. And I was like, oh my God, I've solved the mystery after a whole decade. Shit. So that was nice. And lately I've been listening to that a lot. I think the so dangerous, the Danger-esque theme has been stuck in my head a lot for the last several weeks, and often I'll sing that at Xander Mobus, and he'll be like, so dangerous, cool glasses, and all that. And it's one of those things. I think Kyle Aber described it like, you just start doing a Strong Bad impression, like everybody around you just like starts joining in because they just all get it. That's how far and wide it ended up reaching. It was crazy. So yeah, even as I had evolved into doing Newgrounds stuff and following all that stuff and everything. I was still watching Homestar Runner cartoons for years and years back in their heyday when they were, updating like every week, it seemed like. As far as favorite particular things go, probably the Cheat and Pom Pom were my two favorite characters consistently. Strong Bad, I mean, everybody likes him. He's just kind of everybody loves the Strong Bad. He is an okay guy. So that's kind of a generic answer. But favorite cartoons, I found that a lot of my personal favorites were often the music video ones, especially the Powered by the Cheat music videos. The Cheat theme song, Everybody to the Limit. Hip Hop Dance, which I think I once joked about doing, like, oh, I should do a cover of that as Lord Zet from Parody Rangers, like dressed up as Coach Z, because Z, and do Hip Hop Dance, but I never got around to doing that, thankfully. And even recently, Fisheye Lens, which I listen to pretty often. I love that one. My absolute favorite of those definitely was Experimental Film. They Might Be Giants, I think, are fantastic, and I know that they kind of, I guess, off the books because they have like the official quote unquote music video, but they consider the Homestar Runner cartoon that went with that with Strong Sad and all that to be the official music video of Experimental Film, which I think is pretty badass. So I really like that one a lot. favorite Strong Bad email, weirdly enough, is one that I think was only on one of the DVDs, if I'm not mistaken. It was called Comic Book Movie, and it was all about like the whole joke of like what if there was a strong bad man movie, and it just went into all the tropes of like every single like shitty comic book movie that had ever been made, especially around that time. I was just having a discussion with Mike Lucas and Xander Mobus about superhero outfits. I was trying to come up with ideas for new like super suits and trying to think of functionality and everything, and I brought up the whole joke about like Leather Quest 2000. Like, oh, like, people could believe that your character has, like, radioactive powers or is from another planet, but a colorful spandex costume? No, they're going to be jumping off buildings and doing a bunch of martial arts all the time. Like, they've got to be wearing leather. And I'm just like, oh, this is so poignant. I love this, So that's definitely become one of my favorites. Cheat Commandos, I often, once I watch one of those, I just end up watching all of them. Those are among my favorites, and all the Cheat Commando characters and Crack Stuntman as part of that by extension, I think is pretty funny. Especially the fact that, like, oh, of course, yes, Homestar Runner would have a character who is a voice actor and catering to me specifically. As far as impacting my own stuff, it's funny. I think the very first thing that it really impacted me on was I don't know how often I've talked about this before on Kirblogs, but back before I was doing Flash cartoons. And I picked up a copy of it and was starting to do like the early things on Newgrounds and then leading up to Teamy Tom Adventures. I used to make a lot of cartoons, well, very heavy quotation marks on cartoons, in PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, which was basically just like a slideshow program, but I'd like do different pictures in like MS Paint and like draw different things on that way. But basically, I would do like my own little cartoons that way. And I remember being so captivated by the idea of Strong Bad emails that I think at one point I did one that was it was like a test. I don't even think I finished it, but it was a test of like, what if Bowser answered a Strong Bad email type of thing or whatever? Because I was obsessed with that character as a kid. I mean, he's still my favorite Nintendo character, but I did some test animation like that. It's probably lost to the ether forever, but I remember doing that very briefly because it was like, oh, I want to make the thing. But there was that. As far as later stuff, I think it was kind of more in hindsight, because it was the Newgrounds stuff that was really getting me off my ass to like start, doing actual Flash animation and everything. But I look back at Homestar now, and I look at the fact that the Chapman brothers built a goddamn empire off of that shit. Like, I think now about how, I think in some early interviews they mentioned, like, they tried pitching it, I think, to a few different places, and, like, nobody was really interested, and then they eventually just kind of stuck to the guns, and they were like, all right, we're just going to do it ourselves then, fuck it, whatever. And, now Mike, I think, has worked on, like, a bunch of different animated shows as like, a director, I believe, and then Matt has been, like, writing and voicing in Disney stuff, like on Gravity Falls, and you can hear him mixed around as various characters and everything. I mean, I look at how far they've come and like what they've done with this entire IP, and it's really incredible and really admirable. And I think in hindsight, it's become very inspiring to me in what it is that I do now. I feel like they kind of set the bar for like, because there were a lot of other, startup things like that, in those early days that were like, oh, we're going to do like an internet web series and like do merchandise and completely self-market ourselves and whatever. Like, I feel like they really kind of like set the standard with that. And I'm sure they probably weren't the first people that ever did it necessarily, but I feel like with the amount of impact that they left on not just me, but everybody, and the fact that their stuff still holds up so incredibly fucking well. Like, I can still go back and watch any of those cartoons and laugh just as well. It's like a lot of the Newgrounds stuff I don't think holds up as well, and that includes myself. I don't think a lot of my older stuff is worth watching anymore now, but just about every Homestar Runner cartoon, every Strong Bad email, every song, every music video, every whatever, I can go back and still enjoy all the same as I still do now. And that's really kind of a testament. Like, they really stuck to their guns. They stuck to their type of comedy. They never felt the need to like. They never came off like they felt the need to like pander to like whatever was going to get the most amount of like attention or whatever. Like they just did their own original thing from the ground up, and it proved to be incredibly widely successful. And I think that's worth admiring. I think it's really kind of incredible that they did that. So much respect to those guys. And even though I think at the time I wasn't so much inspired to like do what it is that I'm doing now by them, I think that looking back in hindsight and seeing like, how far they've gotten and where they are by this point, in a way it was kind of a path that I was like sort of following that I didn't even realize that I was in the first place. But yeah, so shorter one than usual, but I think that's going to wrap us up. So in the comments below, tell me, what is your favorite Homestar Runner cartoon of any kind, your favorite character, favorite Strong Bad email, favorite song, favorite anything? Have you not seen Homestar Runner, in which case you absolutely should, and I'm sure I'll be linking to them somewhere if those of you who didn't, but I'm sure probably most of you, if not all of you, did. Yeah, let me know your thoughts about the entire series. And if you have future ideas for Kirblog topics, let me know. I think I have one planned for next week with another certain special guest, but we'll see how that goes. But either way, if you have future topic suggestions, leave a comment about that too, or hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, whatever you feel like. See you on the backflip.